Welcome to Season 2 of the Pull Hook Golf Podcast. Here's your hosts, Matt Cook and Bobby Brown. Welcome back, everybody, to Pull Hook Golf, the podcast. This is episode number 32, in which we have titled, Rickie Fowler is back. I almost dropped the F-bomb there, Bobby, but he is back. It's too early for that quick area, but we're going to talk about Rickie Fowler and his tournament over in Zozo. We're going to also recap the Zozo Championship since it really was a great golf tournament. We've got the CJ Cup this week. That's where you're at. That's one of the reasons why we're dropping it on Thursday. Bobby had some heavy lifting to do out there. Congaree Golf Club.
Man, special. That's the word. Special. Long as fuck, but special.
Yes,
I got the first F-bomb out. I'm one up
there you
on
go.
That.
It's not firm and fast right now, folks. So we'll tell you that. But we will dive into also what happened at the Live Golf Jeddah event, which, Bobby, you're the one that pointed this out to me, that there was, and I'm just going to clue in the audience early, there was nobody out there.
They don't like Americans.
They had these stands and everything out there with like beautiful modern like glass work and everything is like suites. You saw one dude walking around on Sunday on 18. Yeah. There was nobody out there. And then, of course, we're going to talk about the New Yorker article as well that came out about Live Golf, because that's pretty telling to coincide to that. And then Brooks Koepka, we've got to give a little bit of credit here. I know your nemesis in crime there, Claude. He's back with him and...
Maybe, or according to Claude, maybe not according to Brooks. It depends who you talk to.
No, Brooks gave him a shout out during his speech, but it also ties into why guys I feel like are leaving for Live Golf who have the similar mentality as to Brooks, and we'll talk about that as we get to the very end of the episode. But let's start off, Bobby. I mean, is Rickie Fowler back, my man?
Can I just? Yeah, he's back. He's back. And he's back. But can I say something? It was you and I that when he was struggling, when we first started doing our things, and you asked me, you're like, what do you think the deal is? I mean, he's always been super laid off and everything like that. But I'm like, I can't figure out why this guy ever went away from Butch Harmon. And no disrespect to John Tillery, his guy, but Butch is Butch. And he was playing, he was top 30 player in the world consistently with all those wins. You win the Players and that kind of stuff. He was a force to beat there for a while, but I guess guys want to try different things, and
Bobby,
it is
the $1 million story of golfers, right? That we always try to tweak things. We are always trying to get better. And so often when we have something really good going, instead of just harnessing that and really perfecting it, which perfect in the world of golf doesn't exist, but in terms of like honing it in and really starting to dial it in, so to speak. Yeah. Most guys go away from that and start tweaking with stuff.
I know.
Like they don't just, they don't groove it to the point to where all of a sudden they're rattling off win after win. And with Rickie's putter, I mean, that thing's so good, but you can tell, I mean, especially on Sunday with Rickie, that the flat stick hadn't been under pressure in quite some time. Yeah, it definitely showed.
I didn't see, because for me being on the East Coast, I think it was on from either 10:30 to 2:30 a.m. or 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. And I was watching some baseball games, and I was trying to stay awake and try and watch it, but eventually when it gets to 2 in the morning and that kind of stuff, I start fading. Yeah, it gets tough. But I did watch quite a bit of the first 3 rounds, but Rickie is back. And I will say something. All these guys came over, my man included, Troy Merritt. They take that long 15, 16-hour flight. They don't land until Monday morning here in Savannah at 11 a.m. You didn't see anybody really out there except for the Koreans, because this is the major for the Koreans, right? The CJ Cup. Excuse me, all those CJ guys. And then all of a sudden, later in the afternoon, you'll see some caddies rally themselves together, and they'll come out and walk this golf course, which needs to be walked quite a bit, because it is a big boy. Put your pants on this week, folks. It's a big boy track, and I had told you that I'm like, did the Tom Brady thing, right? Like on Saturday, I drive from Charleston. It's an hour and 15 minutes. There's nobody out here. I'm the only one on the golf course. There is not a living human being. And I will tell you, this golf course is, I'm getting too far ahead of myself. My point is that at about 4 p.m. on, when those guys landed on Monday, I'm going to go walk the front side again because I haven't seen it enough, and I'm overthinking everything already before Troy's even hit the property. And who the hell do I see on the phone on the first tee, texting his caddy with a putter and a wedge in his hand? Rickie. Fucking Rickie is in fucking game mode right now, and I'm like, he's always called me Bob because of Dustin. Back we used to play with him quite a bit. He's like,
Hey, Bob.
And he has this nickname Steek. It's on his wedges, Steek. Don't know what it means, but I think he used to stick wedges all the time during college and stuff, and that name grew with him. So he was out there and he rallied through. I walked around with him for a bit, and he was hitting putts and hitting chips, and he's so damn golf smart, and he's so fun to be around, and he's just a great guy. And he's back with Butch. They've had the baby for over a year now, so I'm sure everything's settling down. He's learning how to bide his time better. Swing looks good. Butchie says he's only back to about 75%. I saw on Butchie's comment. And Rick, you know the deal. You're a golf pro. Rickie's always been laid off, right? But there's things that with that laid off move that Butch, there's one or two things that Butch gives him to think about, and it can work. And I will say this: you were talking about his flat stick under pressure. Well, that's even the greatest guys. Even it's funny. I'll tell you a story a little bit later that I walked around with Michael Greller and Spieth and Cam McCormick, their coach. And even great guys like Spieth and Fowler, when they hit some bumps in the road, they have to mentally learn how to win again. Does that make any sense?
100%.
Yeah, and I did it.
It's a feeling.
It's a feeling. And even though my guy's a 2-time tour winner, I mean, Barbasol champ, bro, and Quicken Loans, he had put himself in a position a few times last year with some big boys, Cantlay and Jordan, chasing him down. I'm specifically talking about Pebble Beach, where I could sense that my guy was learning how to win again. And he'll be the first one to tell you, he is not the level of those guys. I'm stating the obvious there, but good for Rickie because he's one of the good guys. He's brought so many kids into the game. He's made Puma a fortune.
Dude, a ton of money. He's still one of the most valuable golfers on tour from a marketing perspective.
Yeah, for sure. But it was good to see him. I mean, the flat stick for him was always like his ace in the hole.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was always like one of the greatest putters. And when it starts going sideways and you go through swing changes and that kind of stuff, I mean, it's
you
usually
take away focus.
You take away focus, and you've always had the flat stick to bail you out. And when that thing goes cold, then all of a sudden you're no man's land. And golf can be a lonely sport sometimes, right? When things aren't going good.
It's the loneliest. Are you kidding me? These guys, I give so much credit. And I actually saw something recently come out about that exact topic. Forget who was talking about it. It was one of the kids on the Corn Ferry Tour. He works with Genghis.
Poor guy. Sorry,
the skinny kid. But then you got Matthew Wolf. So maybe they were going through kind of the guys that work with Genghis, but they were all talking about how golf, they just don't appreciate it on like what they're doing and knowing where they're at. And because sometimes it can be extremely lonely and depressing to where when you're not playing well and you're in front of the camera and the whole world's watching you, that's intense. Like I've wanted to crawl into a cave before in a mini tour event with like one guy out there watching. Like it is terrifying at times to have to go through that, but you're spot on, Bobby, with the fact that pressure is something that you can't really train for. It is very difficult to put yourself in those scenarios and train for that. So it's almost as if you've been in contention recently, you're going to fare so much better when you get to that point once again in the same scenario, because you remember how it felt. You remember some of the mistakes that you made and how to correct that. Like that's what it really is. And when you haven't done it in a while, it fades. It goes away. You don't remember what that feeling was like. And that's probably the most difficult thing. But let me tell you, Bobby, you were talking about Rickie being laid off. Do you see his iron swing? That's the one I am shocked by.
I didn't see a lot of anything to tell you.
The driver's still flat. Like that's going to be tough. That might be part of the 25% that they're just not there yet, but he was still hitting a lot of good drives, which Rickie does. But
he does.
The irons, were
Mm-hmm.
night and day. He had it in a position, Bobby,
Mm-hmm.
where he had it up high. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he was on plane to the point
Mm-hmm.
to where he wasn't below the plane like he normally is with his irons. And you know
Mm-hmm.
how he gets over that right shoulder and actually sometimes a little bit lower than the right shoulder? And
Mm-hmm.
that's how he gets really flat. He was
Mm-hmm.
up in between his shoulder and his neck on a lot of those iron shots. And then on
Mm-hmm.
Sunday, I saw it come back. I saw the old swing creep in, and everybody talks about that. When you've gone through
Yeah.
a swing change, it
Yeah.
takes a good year plus
Oh,
in
at
order to
least.
get that cemented so that
Least.
you don't and the old swing is always going to creep back up when you're under pressure.
Oh,
But for
100%.
Ricky, my God, man, he hung in there on that Sunday. He didn't have it. Like he legitimately didn't have it. His putter was failing him, and yet he stuck right there and ended up only losing by 1 to Keegan. I mean, Keegan
Yeah.
shot 2 under to pass him and obviously take the win because Ricky had a 1-shot lead going into Sunday. But
Mm-hmm.
Ricky stayed right in it. He did not look good throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where it's really exciting because he didn't have it for really, I would say, 2 out of the 4 days. Because
Mm-hmm.
Saturday, too, he showed signs to where I saw the old swing come in. He got away with a couple of them, and then he didn't get away with a couple more. But those first 2 days, Rickie
Yeah.
Fowler is fucking back, baby.
Well, let's stop tooting his horn and we should give some congratulations to my boy Keegan for getting it done. I mean,
What a
he's a stud.
gamer. What
He's
a
a stud.
gamer.
People have no idea how intense he is and how hard he works and how focused he is. And I got to be super, super close with him, with Dustin. You know, we played all of our Tuesday games together. We turned into really, you know, we're really good friends. We share texts. We give each other tips on Netflix shows and all that kind of stuff. So I'm always in contact with him. But he always told me he believed in this thing called biorhythms, where certain players play their best golf for the majority at certain times of the year. And for him, he thought his biorhythms were through the summer, like August and July, August, September. And if you look back at his track record, it makes sense. He wins the PGA. He wins Bridgestone one year. That's in August. He wins a FedEx Cup playoff event in Philly at Aronimink at a big boy golf course. And he's not he's not scared of the big moment, Keegan. He's been in so many big moments, but he's a little tweaky with his routine and that kind of stuff. And people beat him up on social media, but that's how that's him. He's always, I played in 100 games with him at Bears Club down in Jupiter when I was working for the big fella, and he does the same thing even when they're playing $100 auto 2 downs, or he's playing with MJ or something like that. That's his way of zoning in and getting focused. And when you get paired with him, you never really know, because you're expecting it as a caddy, as a player, because you've been paired with him so many times, and that's his deal. But it got shady for him the last few holes. I know he boned a bunker shot. I know he made a couple nice, a nice 2-putt, I think, after he boned that bunker shot from like 60 feet, which is, listen, it's always been the same thing with Keegan, right? He's one of the best drivers of the golf ball in the world, and he's a well above average iron player, and he's got a dirty short game. But it's just, ever since the long putter went away, it's just, he can hit some really rank putts
Bobby,
sometime.
he is a fidgety dude. I drove through New
Yeah.
Mexico on a cross-country trip once where
Mm-hmm.
Breaking Bad was filmed. And let me
Mm-hmm.
tell you, that McDonald's that I stopped at, I
Yeah.
swear I saw 50 Keegan Bradleys doing his
He's
pre-shot
tweaky.
routine.
Yeah,
It is very
Yeah.
tweaky, but I got to say, it's just his game. And that's why he doesn't get enough credit, because
Mhm.
every shot looks like it's a miss hit. Like every shot, he's leaning to a side.
Body
He's over
language.
here. Yeah, the body
Yeah.
language isn't
'Cause
exactly.
he cares. Because
He doesn't. But
He's passion.
well, here's the thing. Keegan Bradley is a goddamn stud, and he's a
Yeah.
gamer. If you're on
Yeah.
that Jordan side, and did you hear his story that he shared recently about how the time that, he played a round of golf with Jordan, and then afterwards they're out shooting some hoops, and then all of a sudden Tom Brady shows
Yes.
up,
Yeah.
and then
I
all
do
of a
know.
sudden Jordan sends his guy back to the house to go get his shoes because they're
I know
playing a
the
game of
story.
horse, and then all of a sudden it turns into a goddamn game. Yeah.
And they're buddies. They're
Exactly.
buddies.
Well,
They're tight, super tight.
Keegan's got that mentality. And when you
Yeah.
started talking about how seasonality might play an effect with, I don't even know what the term was that you threw out there. You threw me for a loop. Biorhythms. I have not heard that before.
Right.
Sounds like a goddamn pile of
Right.
shit. But it might be true. But the one thing that I can think of here is that he grew up in the Northeast. He grew up in Boston. So guess what? I
Mm,
grew up in the Northeast in New York, so I always suck in the beginning of the season because
mhm,
normally you go through a winter where you haven't played, especially as a kid, and all
mhm.
of a sudden you're going in and playing in golf tournaments in the spring and you suck, and then all of a sudden you get to the end of the summer and your game is just tight, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, why does fall have to like all of a sudden come along because it's going
Right.
to be winter in like no time and my game is finally perfect. So that might play into
Well, only from his junior golf in high school days, because he's been in fucking Jupiter for how long right now? Do they even have winters right there? So you
no,
can
but
shoot down
that
my
could be
biorhythms. I'm shooting down your shit. I'm shooting down your shit right now. But it was funny. I was walking across the putting
my
green.
shit makes more sense than biorhythms.
Well, I mean, he's a pretty smart dude, and he turned me on to this biorhythms, and we started talking
Is
about
this a
certain
real
players.
thing, Bobby?
Yes, it
Is this
really is.
like
Like he had
aliens and the
documentation.
president?
No, it's just like biorhythms. Guys feel good at certain times of the year or
All
whatever.
right.
I mean, I bought into it hook,
Is it
line, and
like a
sinker.
female on her monthly?
Caddy, I'm an
No.
ex-partier. I'll try anything once. But it's funny. I was walking
You and I
across the
both,
putt.
Bobby.
Yeah, right. Just once, though, for
Just
something.
once,
Well, I
not
wish it
twice.
was just once for a few. But I was walking across the putting green um, uh, this morning. And he was there. He's got a head coach from Sea Island, Mo, who works with Dr. Mo. They call him with Zach Johnson and a couple other guys. He's a pretty sharp guy. And I'm buddies with his caddy, Scott Dale, who worked for Brant Snedeker forever. And he hadn't had much luck in a while. And it was just like the first thing I said to him.
Uh-oh, Bobby, you
uh,
turn on. There we go.
Yeah,
Technical
sorry. No,
difficulties, folks.
see, this is what happened with my phone last night. It said low battery. Hang on, I'm gonna tap the screen. Okay, we're back now.
You're good. You're
We're back.
good.
I'm back.
I see you. You're
Okay.
back.
Sorry, everybody. This is the disaster. This is disaster episode 32. But so first thing I said to him, I go, there goes the fucking biorhythms angle you had because you just won at this time of the year. And I was just so stoked for him because he's just an ultimate professional. He's super cool. He's nice to everybody. He goes out of his way to sign for kids. He's got a great wife, Jillian. He's got kids at home, and he's such a gamer. And Scott Vale hadn't. Hey man, it was 2 million. That's 200K for Scott Vale for the caddy right there.
Hell yeah.
That's a huge lick. So hats off to him. I mean, Putty played great again. Andrew Putnam with a little T2. We're playing with him this week, the first 2 days, and
Putnam.
I know he's been a baller ever since we played with him. I've told you in Boston last year at the U.S. Open, and he had a good week. And he doesn't do anything fancy on the golf course. He kind of hits it out there like Troy, but he seems to get it done quite a bit.
Bobby, he's got to be shorter than Troy, though.
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Troy's not long.
No.
Troy's not long.
But
And he hits
Troy,
kind of
Troy gets his adrenaline up. I've seen the numbers on
Yeah.
StatCast and all that stuff.
I don't pay
I'm
attention
talking
to
baseball
it.
now. I've been watching too much
Yeah.
Yankees and Padres.
Yeah, left the bat at 120 miles an hour. Yeah, I didn't
good
even
old
know what the hell.
StatCast. TrackMan data. We got our TrackMan data
yeah.
out there.
Yeah. So anyway, shout out to Grillo Emiliano. He dropped a little 64 on Sunday to pass a bunch of dudes, and I think he finished
You know what?
third or
I
fourth.
did see that, and I didn't even think anything of it.
Yeah, and he's been on form. Remember, he had a chance to win at Jackson recently, and he had
That's
that disaster,
right.
that quadruple. He made an 8 or a 9 on that par 5. Xander played great again. Like Xander is the cream of the crop there. He top 10. He finished 9th. He probably wasn't happy with it, but he'll be tough to beat this week. And we'll go into this golf course a little bit later. Your boy Tom Kim, T25.
Bobby, you can't expect the kid after he wins Vegas. I mean, he didn't hop on a plane right away. That kid figured out fake IDs work in Vegas, or they don't even ask when you have an entourage. I mean, we used to sneak people in all the time into clubs that were underage. It was unbelievable. But that being said, Tom Kim, no way he's going to finish in the top. I said this at the beginning of last week to a couple of friends. I should have said it to you on the podcast last week that after he won, that kid has no goddamn hope of a top 20.
Well, they either play really great. Usually when a guy wins, I've always, you've heard me say this before. I'm like, it would be nice after a guy wins that they could take a week off and just enjoy what you just accomplished, because it just doesn't happen very often, right? But You're playing so good. It's a huge purse. I mean, he's Asian. He's a big time draw now, and I liked him too. I like those President Cup guys too. There must have been a casino in Japan because my man Siwoo, I thought he would play good, and he ended up finishing T45, but he might have ran out of some energy too. So
Well,
hey,
not just him, but Manny might have ran out of like his
yeah,
spiels that he's been sharing with him. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
Manny's on it when it comes to
yeah,
caddying for that dude. And if he didn't have his A game, then
yeah.
Siwoo might have been a little bit just heading to the
Did
casino every
you?
night. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, Siwoo, Siwoo does Siwoo things. So if he's not in contention, he can get, he can
he's
get
so
bored
good,
and
though.
lose. Yeah, man, he's so good. I don't know how he doesn't win every year, but I'm like, how does Sungjae not win? Troy played with Sungjae on Saturday, and I hung out with Billy yesterday or day before. What's today? Wednesday? I don't even know. Yesterday, Billy came off the plane and came out to work, and we went and walked the backside out here at Congaree, and he was telling me, we'll talk about Troy. Troy fired 5 over on Sunday, was in contention right off the bat when we were doing our last week's podcast, and
Unfortunately.
unfortunately, and he just things ain't going good for Troy, aren't going good for Troy right now. And the putter, he's still searching for the putter. And I was asking Billy, I'm like, what up with my man? He's like, man, he hit it so good. And I was watching on Shot Tracker. I think he hit the first 9 or 10 greens in a row. I didn't have details, but Billy was like, every single one of them was makeable, and a horseshoe and a hard lip out. And they said that Troy came up to him after the back of the ninth green after he horseshoed another one. He's like, what the fuck? When is this going to change? So, here we are. Here we are at Congaree, and it's very rare for Bobby Brown. I've been to a lot of special golf courses, and as soon as you step on this property in the middle of nowhere in Ridgeland, South Carolina, I can't even describe. It's a humongous property. That's it right behind you. I
It
would
is.
have no idea what hole that is.
Me neither. It's blurred
To-
out because for
yeah,
copyright purposes.
but there's no copyright purposes. It's a big word for a humble caddy, my man. Um,
But you knew
um,
what it was.
yeah, it's just so weird. Yeah, I roll through here and I'm like, where the hell is like the clubhouse and everything like that? And there's no clubhouse here. There's a tiny little golf shop. There's like 35 of these tiny little Augusta cabins that are not connected all over the place behind the driving range. And it is a big boy property. It is kind of the old South. It was kind of the old South here. It reminded me of Augusta a little bit, like a southern Augusta
It
without the big.
does.
It does really, and it is. Man, I'll tell you, I came on Saturday. I drove from home on Saturday. Um, I walked. Once you go out, like 10 is a ways, what 10 is a ways away. So there was not one person on the property. Didn't have a yardage book, and I'm like, oh, this might be good. I can just kind of look and see what it looks like
Sometimes, yeah.
before sometimes. But I'm used to creature of habit. I'm used to our books, and they have everything in there that you need to know. So I'm walking through like the first 9 holes, and I'm like, where am I? Right? I wouldn't even know as the crow flies where to get back to the clubhouse. And then I stumbled onto number 10, then I stumbled onto number 11, and then I noticed after 11, 18T, 12T goes over 18T. And then I made it back there. So I walked 12 holes. Then I came right back on Sunday and walked the same 12 holes because I just wanted more repetitions and more repetitions. And it's been my experience that if your player's not playing that good, the harder you work, something good happens, right? Something usually good happens to those who work hard in anything in life. So this time I went through and I had a yardage book, and I picked up Jason Day on the second hole, and he looks pretty good, but I did a little bit of work. But man, I got to tell you, I was like after like 5 holes or 6 holes, I'm like, this is going to be a handful for my man, because this thing on paper is like 7,600 yards, but it feels like it's 8,500 yards. And let me tell you folks why. It's because you have two fucking par fours that are 540 yards. You have one that is 520, one that is 510, one that is 490. On Sunday, everything's kind of a tight, thin lie, Bermuda strain of something, and there's a bunch of bumps. And so it was moving firm and fast on Sunday, but we had this cold snap that just came in this morning where it was literally 37 degrees. And I was ragging on some officials when I was walking around. I'm like, there is no fucking way that you guys can put these tee backs. I didn't say F to an official, but 540 yards. There's no way you can do that because you were giving, there's 4 guys or 5 guys that can win.
Bobby's fighting for his man here. I fucking love this, Bobby. My God, this competitive, just aggressiveness that's coming out of you the past couple weeks is just fucking incredible. I love it.
Well, I'm on a mission right now, bro. I'm on a mission because we are, you know, I told you the last week, I'm like, oh my God, we're not playing good. And I had to slap myself into form. Number one, we played 2 tournaments and missed 1 cut and made 1 cut and haven't made any putts. So then I came out here with all these great visions, but I'm a realist, you know. And so Troy,
Bobby, get that realist out of you.
I'm trying to
knock it out of it.
It didn't help.
Get out of you.
It didn't help when the boss came out yesterday and played 18 holes, and we standing on number 3, and I have 3 all figured out. It's a 3-wood out to the right.
Oh, you know, no, and he trumped you on it because you haven't been vocal?
It's a 245 carryover water, which grows all the way up the left side. They're going to throw the tee up. It could be 320 front edge. I watched Jason Day strike 5 woods down the middle where you're supposed to hit it, and, you know, I'm like, he's like, what is this? You know, and he's like, I'm describing the hole to him. He's looking at his yardage book, and he pulls a 3-wood into the water, right? And he goes, it's fucking driver. He's never said that to me before in his life, right? And I'm like, what I wanted to say was, I've been out here for 3 fucking days, motherfucker, walking myself into a fucking tizzy, trying to learn this golf course to help find one thing that's going to help you. And I've been over it 3 times, but that's what caddies do. They go and they work first. They map out what they think the game plan is going to be, and then Big Boss comes through because Big Boss is better at figuring out a golf course than any caddy on the planet. I don't care who you are.
That's not true, Bobby. I will fight you on that one all day.
Well, no.
That's why there's coaches in every sport.
Well, I'm telling you, a caddy can be a sight coach more than a swing coach. That's for sure. So he was kind of ragging on me. He pulls out driver. He hits it into this waste bunker. And you're not probably – there's tons of waste bunkers out here. And you're probably not going to make worse than par, you know, but you're taking the water out of play with drive. But I was hurt. My feelings were hurt.
You should have.
Yeah, and then he goes, this is the stupidest hole ever. And I'm like, oh my God, that's here we go. You know, he hasn't even seen the teeth of the golf course.
Oh, he's going to play great this week.
Then we roll up to number 4. Jesus, please tell me you know what you're talking about. Then we roll up to number 4, which is a par 5 that's 650 yards, 645 yards. And he looks at me and goes, what's this shit? And I just didn't know what to say. And I looked at him and I go, listen, you can't fucking play Hilton Head 14 weeks out of the year. Because if you did, you'd make $8 million a year.
What a fucking line from Bobby Brown.
Yeah, and I told him, suck it up and hit fairways, and if the putter gets hot.
Dude, that's amazing.
So, and he's got jet lag from Japan, and he's just in
of course.
Yeah, he's in a pissy mood, and then we get to like number 6, which is like 520-yard par 4, and he's going on, and then we get to 8, which is a 540, and he pipes one down the middle, and we got like 248 hole, right? 248 hole to a raised green. There's tons of runoffs. It's tight. It just reeks of disaster. Every hole reeks of disaster other than the first 4. So he hits this cut 3-wood there to like 20 feet, and I'm like, God damn it. He's like, that was a good shot, hon. All I'm thinking is, God, why'd you have to hit that shot today and not Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? Then you get to 9 is about 500 yards with a tiny green with water all the way down the right on the approach. And these greens are firm as shit. The fairways were firm as shit the first few days. They weren't quite as firm this morning, you know, with the cold snap. And he had to hit 4-iron into that. 17's 540 yards with a force carry if you push one right of 320, which we don't have and most guys don't have. So it's going to be here. Let me just summarize this whole thing. You know what I'm thinking? 8 under. 8 under gets the grand salami this week.
I'm thinking 12.
No. Oh, okay. I'm betting you 100 pennies.
Done.
I'm betting you 100. Okay.
Done. This isn't a live event.
Yeah.
There, Bobby.
What did you
Stop watching YouTube so much.
Yeah, listen, did you go to Google Earth or something and you're coming up with a winning score? Because my fucking blisters on my feet say it's going to be 8 under for the last 5 days.
Yeah, but I know you're conservative. And here's the thing.
No,
based off of, yeah, I know you are legit, and you're probably going to be correct.
Come with your stats of the last time we're here, and I'm going to fight you because I know something you don't know about.
Well, here's the thing: the Palmetto Championship took place last year at a different time of year, and during that time, it played very firm and fast, so it played a lot shorter, which is why Higo ended up winning, even though
at 11 under.
Exactly, at 11 under, but.
Right.
the thing that's going to separate everybody is because it's a little bit slower and because it's a little bit longer. That's going to play into the guys' hands of Rory McIlroy, of Scotty Scheffler,
I'm
of
biting my
Justin
tongue.
Thomas.
I'm biting my tongue.
But here's the other thing. They didn't go to Japan and have this layover that took
Right.
place. Or, well, not
Right.
layover. Layover is the
Okay.
wrong term. It is the jet lag that you get
Okay.
from going that far. And as you and I were talking off air, a lot of these guys are starting to see it right
Yeah,
now.
they were
I
feeling
mean,
it today.
they're miserable, they're angry, they're pissed off. But
Yeah.
this is why I'm going to tell you that Troy is going to have a good week. And not to the point to where I think he's going to win because his game isn't necessarily there. I hope that's fair to say. But what I will say is that you're going to have a better week than what you're expecting because,
Okay.
and hear this,
All
it's
right.
because Troy is pissed.
Yeah.
Troy doesn't get pissed. And
I like
now
it.
Troy doesn't have expectations coming into this week,
Right,
which
I
he's
like it.
probably had quite a bit going through the end of last year into this year. Like he probably got to Napa and thought, I got a chance to win this fucking thing.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden,
57.
you know, it started kind of digressing a little bit. But
Right.
now because he's going to be pissed off and automatically chalk it off that, oh, a bomber's going to fucking win this week. Well,
Yeah.
guess what? That takes all the pressure off of him. And all of a sudden, he can start to play his game and not be so concerned about the putter.
Okay.
He's going
I'm
to be
gonna
more
fire
concerned
out
about the longer distances.
I'm going to fire out some things at you that is going to make everybody that listen to this realize that you are the broadcaster and I am the caddy. So let's go back to Garrett Cago's W when it was moving firm and fast. Listen to me, Einstein. Everybody knows that Garrett Cago won at 11 under. What you forgot to read about was that it was soaking fucking wet. They got 6 to 8 inches of rain early in the week. They
But it played
ball
soft.
in. Listen,
Well, you're right.
They played ball in hand for the first 2 days, and Garrett Cago got to 11 under fast. This is fighting your 12 under. He got to 11 under fast, and then it started firming up, and the course showed its teeth, and he stayed at 11 under and got the W. What you didn't otherwise read about was about the 6 new fucking tees that they put in here to stretch this bitch out. Like 16 used to be the drivable hole. You saw everybody drivable.
Yeah.
Now it's 360 front. Now they'll go back and forth 1 or 2 days, okay, and they'll do the same thing on number 3. But they added so much. They added so much length, and it was. I'm just telling you, I'm gonna go 8 under, possibly 9 under, and I'll give you my rundown.
Wow, you're now all of a sudden. So not only did you throw out 8 under, but now all of a sudden you're at 9 under because I go 12.
Well, because I listen to you, and caddies are good listeners. That's what we get paid for, is to listen really good. But I will tell you the scoop on this course: get what you can the first 4 holes, because 1 is a driver and a flip wedge. 2 is a hittable par 5. It's going to be a hittable par 5 if you want to gamble on that with all the waste areas. And these waste areas out here, I will tell you, have all those little, like, you could call them palmetto bushes or whatever scattered through them. So it's a crap shoot whether you're going to get into one of those. They're kind of thin, but it can fuck with you. Number 3 is the hole Troy got mad at me about, which is going to be something, but I think a lot of guys are going to be launching driver up there. You can birdie that. 4 is the par 5 that's not going to be really hittable unless you're a super bomber and they move the tee up. And so you can get that. And then you got a par 3 over water, and then all hell breaks loose. And then I actually think, and Michael Greller, Spieth's caddy, disagreed with me this morning. We were talking about, I actually think you can get the backside more than you get the front side for whatever reason, because it just feels like it's more playable to me. Did I tell you that I walked 9 holes with Jordan Spieth and Michael Greller on Monday, and their coach Cam McCormick? And I've been paired with him a million times, right? Now, you never listen to somebody when you're in game mode, but listening to this guy, first time seeing his golf course, and there's a lot fucking going on in that brain right now. I will tell you that much. Without any yardage book, and he's looking at certain holes, and he's like yelling out shit to Michael, like, I think I can cover this, and what is it? Because it looks like it's 300. Michael's like, well, it's 305. You know, he's just super smart. But he, listening to that shit for 9 holes, we finished. And I went back in and I walked back out, and Greller goes, where are you going? I go, I'm to walk the backside again. And he goes, you're going to walk it again? I go, yeah, because your man's got me fucking overthinking everything out there. Whatever happened to just play to the fat side of the fairway, wedge 1 on, and see if you can make a putt. So I'm still sticking to my guns at 8 under, but I am going to put in quotation marks again about this place. Special place, man. Like
Oh, it is
one in a
so nice.
one in a million
They don't
place.
have members either. They
They
have
do. No,
one.
they
No,
do.
no, no.
They
It's one
do.
member. They have ambassadors,
Oh,
Bobby.
300 of them.
Yep,
300
300
of them.
ambassadors.
Yeah.
So they don't allow memberships. They do
Right.
ambassadors.
Right.
And I had a member at Desert Mountain that was a member out of Congaree when it first opened, and they
Right.
touted this place. And I remember, I'm like,
Yeah.
they're like, this place is so pristine. Couple
Yes. Oh
billionaires
my
built
God.
it, and it's just amazing. How far is it from Aiken? Because
Oh,
Sage Valley is right
I
there,
don't,
isn't it?
yeah, no, I don't know. So here's the deal. We are 40
But you
minutes
flew
short.
into Savannah, which is right across the border from like
Oh,
Aiken and
yeah, I'm not familiar with, I'm not familiar exactly in my brain because I'm a high school graduate where Aiken is, but I know that they breed some good racehorses there every once in a while. That's what I know about Aiken, South Carolina, and I know that Scotty Brown and Kisner have played a lot of golf there in the past. That's all I know about
all
Aiken,
right,
South
fair
Carolina.
enough.
But I can tell you that it is about 40 minutes to Savannah south off the 95. It's about 3 miles in off the 95, and it's right off the Highway 17, which is an hour and 15 minutes from my
Okay.
house in Charleston. So it's somewhere in the middle there off of 95, but it is a beauty and it is gorgeous. And these 300 ambassadors, you know the deal with this. I don't know the guy's last name with a Z. I don't know who he was, but also the owner of the Houston Texans who passed away, Robert McNair.
Yes,
This
Robert
was
McNair.
this was their idea, and these 300 ambassadors. You know the story here. All dues and everything like that, all revenue, all goes to charity, right?
Yep.
It doesn't go to the golf course or anything like that. It's just a bunch of rich dudes that come out and play their own golf course. They got a max 50 rounds a day. They got a great caddy program. I know all this because I ran into one of those ambassadors who's from Scotland, who has an alcohol problem for sure. I think his first name's
Who
Aiden,
doesn't from
but he's probably
Scotland?
a
It's very cold.
multi-billionaire, belongs to every club, and he was walking around on the course with me on the weekend, and he's trying to give me. And there's two things. It's great to meet a member and listen to their stories about the golf course, but as a caddy, when they try and tell you certain shit, you're like, man, you after like 6 holes, you're like, man, you need to shut up because your fucking bullet that doesn't get, past Dick High that flies 200 yards and skates another 60 yards is not how these guys really play the game here. So this guy was kind of giving me the history on the golf course. They're known for a big junior golf event here. I don't know
Cool.
if you read about that, where I think they take the top 10 international kids, and they take the top 10 junior U.S. kids, and they all meet up here for a week. And then they bring 48 kids in from a whole different country, from all different countries that are really good golfers. They have a church here on the property, a small little church and chapel, and they have a little schoolhouse. So the kids go to church, they go to this little schoolhouse for a couple days and do some work and stuff like that, and they go out and play golf all day. So
God, you gotta love South Carolina.
yeah. Yeah, you got it. You gotta love South Cackalack.
It's just fucking fantastic. It's just
So
like taking yourself back to the 70s or
yeah,
60s or even the 30s or 20s. I
I'm
mean,
gonna tell you. No, you're exactly right. And so I was telling you before we started. It's in the middle of nowhere. So most of the guys are staying like in Beaufort, which is on the way to Hilton Head.
I've heard of
Or
Beaufort. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Beaufort. It's on the way to Hilton Head. It's halfway between here and Hilton Head, so that's like 40 minutes away. So our boy Micah, Micah that worked for Scott Piercy, who I hooked
Fucking
up with,
love Micah.
him about 2 months ago. Micah goes, Bob, there's a quality inn, and I know exactly the quality inn, the unquality inn, I should call it. So he goes, wow. These Zen pouches, man. They say you can swallow the shit, but I've been swallowing way too much. Well, it could be worse. It could be skull. So Micah goes 2 months ago. He goes, Bob, there's a quality inn like 15 minutes from the golf course. I know exactly where it is. He goes, closest hotel. He goes, $560 for the week. I go, Mike, and he knows I'm a hotel stop. He goes, Bob, 560. I go, Mike, it's a fucking quality inn off the 95. What else do you need to know? He goes, Bob, let me tell you this: $280 a guy for the week, and we're the closest to the course. You want to gut it out with me? Bring your candles, right?
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, I'll do it. So I see Mike in Vegas. He's already booked it, and I'm like, yeah, what the hell? Spend $280 on a hotel. I know there's some good Mexican food around here, my specialty. And so I see him in Vegas, and he goes, oh, Bob. He goes, I just want to say thanks for hooking me up with SH Kim, but he's a CJ guy, he's a CJ logistics guy. So all the CJ players and their caddies get free hotel rooms at the Spring Hill Suites in Bluffton. He goes, I just want to say thanks. You can have the room. You can have the room by yourself. And I'm like, Okay. He goes, and I'm gonna pay for it. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he goes,
All
and if we
right.
do really good, I'm gonna take care of you, Bob. And I'm like, yeah, okay. So listen to this. So
Was
I
Micah
get here.
hammered when he said all of this? This
No,
sounds
he's
like a
only
drunk
hammered at night.
talk. This sounds like a drunk talk. Like, oh,
No,
Bobby, don't worry
but
about it. I got you.
first thing I thought was, why is he not fucking inviting me to stay at the Spring Hill Suites? Because I'd never stayed at a bad Marriott property in my life. Fairfields can be sketched sometimes, but Courtyards and Spring Hills are really good in their massive rooms.
That's a good
So,
point.
so I'm like, all right. So the room was under his name, and I come to this Quality Inn. I roll in the parking lot, like, oh my god. And caddies always classify when we stay at ghetto ass hotels. It's either a 1 candle room or a 2 candle room. So I just bought my 2 honey apple crisp candles on sale at Trader Joe's, so I'm prepared, right? So
Bobby,
it's
explain why you need candles.
because it stinks like shit in here. It's burning right now.
Bobby, can I just tell you, it
What?
looks like a green
What?
screen gone wrong behind you. That
Right,
wall is
right,
not just like forest green, but there's parts of
right.
it that like are
I,
discolored. People have
wait,
been smoking in that
wait
room.
until the cleaning lady comes rolling by with the cart here in the next fucking 15 minutes later and taps on the door. It feels like I'm on a railroad track. But here's the kicker. So I go into the front, I pull in and I'm like, oh, here we go. Fucking 50-year-old hotel. You enter from the outside. It's not inside entrance. And I'm like, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? So I go to the front desk and I'm like, yeah, I'm so and so. And I'm in my caddy gear, come straight from the golf course. The room's under Micah Fugit and that kind of stuff. I'm Bobby Brown. He added my name to the room. She looks at me. She was having a bad day. And I'm not going to say anything more than that. She was having a bad day. She's about 300 pounds overweight. She goes, your name ain't on the room, honey. And I go, my name's on the room and that kind of stuff. She goes, honey, I'm looking at the screen. She goes, oh, there's the notes right there. Bobby Brown's going to check in. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, that's me. I gave you that ID in your hand. It actually says Robert, but I go by Bobby Brown. And she goes, okay. And she's still being a bitch. She's not making any eye contact. I go, and the room's prepaid. She fires right back at me. She goes, this room ain't prepaid. I go, yeah, I think the room's prepaid. And she goes, oh yeah, here it is, right on the screen. The room's
Oh my
prepaid.
God.
She goes, there's an extra $4 a day charge, by the way,
There you
service fee or
go.
something
You
like that. And
gotta
I go,
pay it,
fucking
Bobby.
great. I go,
Yeah.
great. She goes, cash? And I just look at her and I go, people fucking still pay cash checking into a hotel room? Like that. She just snarls at me and I go, credit card. So I jam my credit card in the machine. So she goes, you got to sign the thing, right? So I'm signing the thing. I got that little plastic thing, that you like sign your name. So I sign my name and she goes, you have to okay on the other screen over there, right?
Oh my
And she's like,
God.
you're going to do it? And I'm like, yeah, I'm signing it right fucking now. And she goes, the other screen. And I'm like, oh
How
my
many
God.
screens were there, Bobby?
There was like an iPad screen for the $4 charge and then the credit card thing.
And this
So
is at a
now
goddamn what
I'm on
Quality Inn?
fucking, I'm on tilt, and now I'm thinking to myself, I just fucked myself because she's gonna give
Oh,
me the worst room
you're
on the planet.
screwed. Yeah.
127. She goes, I go, can I have 2 keys because I lose? And she goes, I'm gonna give you 1 key because I'm running low. Everybody keeps stealing. And I'm like, who steals a fucking plastic card key?
I just
So
never turn them in.
I get into the room and I'm like, two single twin beds, right? So I'm like, okay, this is great. These hardwood floors that remind you of like a red roof inn that I've stayed in the past,
They're
right? So
not
I'm like,
hardwood, Bobby. Bobby, let's
yeah,
be honest
what do you
here.
call
They
them?
are vinyl. They are vinyl that have like a pattern of wood.
The story gets better on Monday night. So I put my stuff down. I pull off the comforter off of what bed I think is going to be the better bed to sleep on, the one that didn't have the
Are
yellow
you
pillow.
debating to
Yeah,
yourself as to which single bed you should sleep in?
that's what you do. Yeah,
Go
what
the
single
one
bed?
away from the window.
Yeah, so like, well, thank you. I did that, and also the one closer to the window had the yellow pillow, so I wanted the white pillows. So I got my 4 white pillows. I'm sitting on the bed and I'm unpacking, and I look at the front door, and I'm like, oh my God, there's a fucking inch gap between the floor and the front door for any critter in the planet to crawl through. And I noticed that night outside of my door is the light for the hallway, right? And I think bugs like lights. So I'm like, get the
I
candles going.
think bugs like lights.
Lights. I think they do. And they like snacks. And I like snacks too because they sniff that shit out. So I'm investigating the
I'm
room and
dead right now.
I got a case of disinfectant wipes and I'm going through the whole thing and I'm disinfecting it
Oh
like
my
it's
God, like you're
COVID.
on an airplane.
Like
Did
it's
you wear
COVID.
rubber gloves?
No, but they're 75% alcohol. So I thought I'd be safe even though I'm sober. So listen, there's this little thing in between these two little single beds, and there's a 1968 phone. I wish I could show it to you. It's not the rotary phone, but it's a phone I haven't seen in a long,
Wait, do
long
you
time.
tap the
Yes.
buttons?
Yeah.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah.
I think I
So
was
I'm like,
5 the last time I saw a phone like that.
so I'm getting somewhat comfortable. I bought my supplies. The refrigerator's not bad. There's a microwave. I'm not drinking any coffee out of the coffee machine because you don't know who's pissed or shit in it. So I'm sitting minding my own business about 10 o'clock at night, right? And something catches me out of the corner of my eye, and I think it's the candle, but no, it's this little bug rolling around by the phone. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get this motherfucker, right? And I go to fucking swat him, and he goes back behind the board, behind this thing right here behind my bed. Now I'm fucking freaked out, right? And I'm like, God damn it! And now I'm
You
on
can't
Priceline.
sleep at that point.
No, and now I'm on Priceline, right? Well, this stupid son of a bitch, this bug, decides to show himself like 45 minutes ago, and I'm in attack mode, waiting for him to show him, and I get him, right? And he's a tiny little guy, and I go, huh, don't have to deal with that. But now I can't sleep, right? I don't have to deal with him. I killed him. Now it's almost 1 a.m, and I'm wide awake, and I have no gummies with me to take. Melatonin's been backfiring on me for 2 months now. I'm missing the melatonin window. So now I'm like, for some reason, I pop up and I go, what about that fucking front door? It's 1 a.m. And I look at that fucking front door, and there are two cockroaches this fucking big staring at me, right? Like this fucking big. So now I'm like, oh my God. So I sneak across the other bag, right? And they don't see me coming. I thought they had eyes behind their head. They don't see me coming. And my kids will kill me for this because they hate me to kill bugs. But I
Oh,
crunched
you
both
gotta
of
kill
them.
bugs. You
Yeah,
got
I got
to.
a bath towel. I made it soaking wet, and it's under there right now. And I stuffed this motherfucker underneath the door.
So
So
they
who?
think you're smoking weed in there for sure.
Yeah, that is the signature move. And so there's another caddy staying here, Damon Green, that used to work for Zach Johnson forever. I told you he's working for Christian Bezuidenhout
Yeah.
now. He's job sharing
Great
with Christian
pronunciation, by the way, Bobby.
Bezuidenhout. Yeah,
Yeah.
it only took me 2 years to figure it out and seeing his name on leaderboards. So I see Damon and Mike in the next morning. We're sitting at breakfast, I'm like, Damon, what room you in? He's like 130. I'm like, oh, you're on the good side. I go, how was your room? He goes, it's fine. And I start going into my spiel about the phone and the bugs, and Micah's like, Bob, I'm so sorry, and come stay with me at the Spring Hill. And I'm like,
Wow,
and
you
I'm
got the
like,
invite, but
I didn't take
days
it. I
late.
didn't take it because he snores and he drinks too much, and I can't take it
He
anymore.
loves a good
So,
martini. He's
so I
got the
went,
olives.
yeah,
He's a
yeah.
savage.
So I went to Walgreens the next morning and I debugged the whole place around the corners. I'm probably going to get cancer from it, but I got bug spray. I got my towel underneath, and I said to myself driving back yesterday, I said to myself, "You did this for 2 years on the Corn Ferry Tour, you hotel snob motherfucker. Gut it out because it's free. There's no cut. Your man's been struggling. You're going to make some money. So here we are. Here I am. I'm out of breath after telling that whole
Bobby,
story.
I have stayed at some sketchy hotels, and let me
This is
tell
as
you,
bad as this is as bad
last
as
year I took a cross country trip because my fiance had never driven cross country. She's a New York girl, grew up in Long Island, and we moved out to Arizona and like right pre-pandemic. But we had to go back because we were going to have an engagement party and all this and that. And so we decided to drive because we've got a golden doodle that was like about a year old at the time. And we're like, all right, we're going to go back across the country. And we can't fly them because all the COVID rules now like have banned dogs from airplanes. So we're like, screw it. We can't leave the dog. We got to take the dog. We're taking the dog. So I'm like, I've done this trip like 8 times from Arizona or to California from New York. So I'm like, we're doing this. And she's like, absolutely. This is great. Bobby, I can tell you, I'm lucky to still be engaged because
Yeah.
I picked some sketchy fucking spots.
No, you
This
gotta
is the
map that
mini
shit
tour
out.
side to me that I'm
Yeah.
just like, I look at the pictures and I'm like, I look at the price and I'm like, wow, that price is really cheap. And those
Right.
pictures look like good enough.
Yeah, because they're 15 years old when the hotel just opened, brand new.
Or they
I
put
know.
just straight lipstick on a pig. And
Yeah,
that
they
has
do.
happened to me numerous times. New Mexico is one of them. That's why I can relate to Keegan Bradley's pre-shot routine. And then also, as I moved across the country, there was one in Oklahoma City that got really, really weird.
Yeah.
There was definitely some things going on there, and we had a leak in our place as well as the hallway was flooded. So yeah, it got
Yeah.
weird. But to
So
your
I'm
point, Bobby, you are spot on with the fact that you are in a comfortable inn right now, a comfort inn to be
yeah.
exact.
Well, no,
And
unquality, unquality. Did I tell you? Yes. And yesterday morning, was trying to be nice to me when I checked in. She's like, "We got breakfast back here from 6 to 9 a.m." And I'm like,
you're like, no,
fucking no." But
absolutely not.
I have to have coffee first thing when I wake up in the morning, right? So it was yesterday. It was yesterday morning. I woke up and she's like 6 to 9, so it's 6:20. When you go in through the front door, when you go in through the front door, it's like these old plexiglass doors that when you walk in, they like fold and open up like this. It's 6:20, right? And I go and I think the open thing opens, but it doesn't open. She's got a lock because it's sketch territory here, right? And
Yeah.
I bam my face against it. And she's like, "What do you want?" She's like, "What do you want?" I'm like, "I want to come in." And she goes, "What do you want?" I go, "You said it's breakfast from 6 to 9. We're having this conversation." She goes, "I'm not ready yet." I go, "You said
Through the
6."
door.
Yeah. I go, "Well, you said 6." I go, "I just want coffee." She goes, "Oh, Jesus." I hear her go, "Oh, Jesus," like that. She comes in,
Yeah,
unlocks it,
she's very
double
frustrated
secure.
with you right now.
Yeah, but there's good Mexican food here, and there's no cut this week. So,
Why
you
is
know,
there good Mexican food in no
I
man's
think there's a,
land, South Carolina?
I don't know. You think there would just be great barbecue and
You
that
would
kind of
think
stuff,
so.
great smokers and that kind of stuff. And I'm looking forward to that because living in the South in South Carolina for a while, when you go through these little towns, when you're on your journey and that blue tent and that family's on there with their own personal smoker, do yourself a favor, folks. Pull over and pick up some of their grub. Number one,
Yeah.
you're doing the right thing and making them a couple bucks. But number two, when you lay into some of their brisket or some of their smoked turkey or their barbecue chicken or their grits, there's nothing like it in the South. And this is coming from a guy that grew up in Southern
And
California,
you live in Charleston, which is like the
and
food
with
capital of the
food,
country, people. Like,
foodie
if you
capital of
don't
the
know,
world.
like
Yeah,
Charleston, South Carolina, if you want the
yeah,
best food in the country, go to
yeah.
Charleston. Do yourself
Yeah,
a favor.
go stay downtown on King Street. I tell people all the time, they're like, "Is the food that good?" I go, "You could stay on King Street for 2 weeks and not kill half of the good restaurants
There's a
there." So
reason the James Beard Awards have been there like the
yeah,
past several years. It's
yeah,
like
yeah,
it's become the food cap because South Carolina, especially Charleston, gets hospitality.
yeah.
Like, you
They
go
get it.
into a restaurant and if you have a reservation, they're going to know your name before you show up and you don't even know why.
Truth.
Like, going into Hall's Chop House, that guy knew
Yeah,
who I
that was my
was.
spot. Yeah,
I
that was
mean,
my
Hall's
spot for a
Chop
long
House, I'm
time.
giving a shout out right now. You guys do a fantastic job.
Yeah,
And then as I was leaving,
Billy
because I
Hall.
had one too many old fashions or
Yeah,
Manhattans, I don't quite remember, but they came running out, Mr. Cook, Mr. Cook. And I'm like, what the fuck?
right. You
and
forgot your
and he's like,
cheesecake.
you forgot the tiny portion of ribeye that you had us box.
Yeah,
And here you go. And I'm
yeah,
just like, wow, that is quality service at its max. That is the
yeah,
reason why you go to Charleston, South Carolina for
yeah.
great hospitality and great food.
Yeah,
It's unreal.
best steak in Charleston is Hall's Chop House. Billy
Oh, by
Hall and his
far.
brother,
It's the
they
best
do.
steak that I've ever had, Bobby.
Yeah, it's
32
phenomenal.
day dry aged
Yeah.
ribeye.
You
Unfucking
know,
believable. I dream
they're
about
buddies.
it.
They're buddies with Dustin. So the years that I was working for Dustin, I can't tell you. I just can't tell you all the desserts they free of charge they would send us home at. But bring your
My
wallet
God, if
because
you could have
you're
just
yeah.
stayed tight there,
I know.
Bobby,
I know.
you
I
would have
know.
you would have
Well,
made
that's gonna
over.
lead us.
I mean,
That'll that'll lead us. That'll lead us to how much money he's making on the live tour. No, we won't do that yet. You know what
no,
we
we
want to
can't.
do
We
is
can't.
you sent me a message a couple days ago that we got some Aussie boys back in Australia that sent you a
Ah,
message
that's a
that
good
said they get it going.
segue.
They get it going, right? They get on this. They get
they
on
they
this.
set up an entire party apparently. Like, this was
Yeah,
the message that they
yeah.
sent. And if you guys have stayed tuned to like our Instagram page, you'll know that like this group down in Australia throws a party together, a listening party where they grab some booze, and I don't
Nice.
blame them. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
I think
I
they
would
call
do
it
the same
piss.
damn thing.
Don't they call it piss? They call it piss
I
there.
think
I think
so.
they get on the piss
They get on the
there.
piss.
Yeah, they get on the piss.
and and then God, you got me all frazzled over here. I get really excited about this. So they get together, they get some food together, and they throw a party, and they
Right.
watch us on YouTube or listen to us. I don't know which one it is.
Yeah.
I don't know if they clarified on that. But that being said, Bobby, why don't you take a moment to share some of your
I don't really have.
favorite
Listen, I'm
Aussie?
not gonna. I don't have a ton of Aussie. I don't have a ton of Aussie stories. I did the World Cup down there at some. I can't even remember the name of the golf course, but I in 2018 it was Siwoo and Ben on. We were leading the first couple days. Um, and it was just a sick golf course. But what I did learn after that is Aussies are cool as shit, right? And I'll segue that into like, okay, so my favorite Aussie is Jeff Ogilvy. You know, he's a handful on
Oh,
the golf course. He's got a super bad temper, but he's one of the
yeah, but
smartest.
great
He's one of the
guy.
smartest dudes I've ever met in my life, and he's so, I've been involved with President's Cups with him, and he's so motivating, and he's so damn smart figuring out a golf course. But if you like named the who's the two coolest guys that used to be on our tour, you would come up with Mark Leishman and Cam Smith number 1 and 2, because it doesn't get any cooler than those. They just roll with it. They have their beers, they do their thing, and they go out and they play their golf. And all Aussies that I've been around are phenomenal bunker players. And when I was at this World Cup golf course, I figured out why. Is because the way that the bunkers are set around the greens, it's like there's sharp edges. Like the greens, you hit a shot and you're like, oh, good shot. And then all of a sudden you're walking up and you're like, where'd that ball go? Right. And it's rolled down into this bunker. So the bunkers, the greens are cut right into the bunkers, right? Like there's no fringe or anything like that. It just goes
Yeah.
from green down to bunker. So I think that's the reason why they're so. I think we were down in what they call the sand belt there that has all those awesome golf courses. But I just had the best time going to Australia. People were cool as shit. All the Aussies I've been around is cool as shit. So there's my props to our guys that are drinking right now or are going to listen to that. We appreciate
100%.
the support. We're sorry that we lost your guys to. We're bummed that we lost your guys to live, two of the coolest guys to live. But I get it. Money talks. Money talks.
I'm not upset about Cam Smith though,
Yeah.
because somebody's got to compete against DJ on the Live Golf Tour.
Well, he hasn't been doing it the last 2 weeks, really, has he? He's been playing.
Well,
like
neither has
shit.
DJ.
Yeah.
So-
And speaking of another, I'm going to speak of another Aussie that I know pretty good, because I feel like but these guys aren't going to like this part of this whole deal. But I feel like fucking Matty Jones is like a fucking super cool dude. And if you ever watched Matty Jones when he was playing on tour, if you caught him early in the week, his part of his practice routine was taking his shoes off and he'd practice in bare feet for whatever reason. You know, that was his way of getting some feel or doing some kind of drills. But I felt like he put his foot in his mouth last week, Matt Jones, when he said guys are grinding to practice harder on the Live Tour than they were on the PGA Tour. And I'm just going to pull up a big bullshit sign on that, because I've talked to numerous caddies out there. And if you're James Piot or Turk Pettit or Chikaria or any of those new guys, or Jeddah Morgan, who I think is an Aussie too, Jeddah Morgan, the long blonde haired, good looking kid. Those guys are the ones practicing, because I've talked to caddies and they're like, man, we just roll in and we play a fucking practice round and the festivities begin. So that's the only negative thing I'm going to say is I think Matt Jones said the political thing that they loaded his lips for.
Yeah, but he might have been talking about them, because think about it.
Yeah.
If you're a young
He
guy,
said everybody. I think he said everybody.
Everybody, yeah, you can't say everybody. That's a sales term.
Right. So
that's a lot of fluff
I love
there.
Aussie. Who doesn't love Aussie? Not to mention they are the hottest bitches in the world.
Unbelievable. That's my one thing against you Aussies. God damn it. Every time I hung out with an Aussie, you drop that accent and American girls just absolutely drop their panties. It's unbelievable. I could be in there and I would get the absolute last of the entire group. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding
You're a
me?
good-looking dude.
I felt like I was. Trust me, it hurt the ego quite a bit, but I still love you guys, because no matter what you would say the next day as to why you got all the girls, you guys have a great accent.
Yeah, it's official. And Aussie and man, it's not a fair fight. What else do you got? We had the PGA Tour announced. Well, yeah. Well, we're not going to go into Live yet, but we had the PGA.
No, I know. But you got it. You're on it.
Yeah, our tour announced that we got 4 upgraded purses to 20 million that we knew was coming.
Clue us in.
Phoenix.
What do we got?
Phoenix.
That's a disaster, and I can't wait.
Why Super Bowl weekend, 20 million. But the quality of the field's going to go up, and that's good for Phoenix, who's been a huge supporter. It's just a fucking.
Everybody should go to that damn tournament. I know why players
except
don't.
Dustin Johnson, because he can't stay off the powder and the bird's nest. Did I ever tell you the story back in the day, like 2009 or 2010? He's like, Bob, I'm going to that bird's nest thing.
Yeah, you're like, oh, here goes our rest of the golf tournament.
I didn't see him for 2 days after that, and the next thing I know, he was suspended for like fucking.
Yeah, can I explain to people what the bird's nest is? So people that have not been out to Scottsdale for the Waste Management Open, they have this like made up venue, which now they've started to do it on 16. Have you seen that, Bobby, from last year?
What?
So they set up almost like concert stands. on 16. Like
Yeah.
before and like during the tournament, they set this up. I don't think it's during the tournament. I think it's before and after.
Because it's almost stadium like now.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Almost
No, you're spot on. And as I was thinking about it, I'm like, no, it couldn't have been like during the tournament. But what they do is they set up this club atmosphere with just temporary, like a temporary building, and they have security outside, and they call it the Bird's Nest because after the golf tournament,
yeah, it's across the street now.
day,
It's across the street in the parking lot.
yeah. So
Yeah.
now you can get even weirder because it used to be, especially, I mean, I'm dating myself now. I'm going back 15 years to the last time that I went to the Bird's Nest, and my God, is it a debacle. Because not only do you have everybody wasted on the golf course, but anybody that can actually stand that has tickets to the Bird Nest ends up migrating to this tent, let's call it, where it's just a club. I mean, it's a club by the golf course that drunk people get to go and get more fucked up. Like, let's be honest about it. And that's why when Bobby's saying with DJ, that tournament was done as soon as Bobby knew that he was going.
Yeah. For 30 days, haven't seen him since.
Well, you know, a lot of things look good when you're on the powder.
I have a lot of friends. I spent some time in Arizona. I got a couple brothers that live there and that kind of stuff. And every year, like a month before, my phone starts blowing up from guys I haven't seen in 20 years. Can you get me tickets? Can you get me tickets? I'm like, yeah, I can get you as many tickets as you want. Can you get me Bird's Nest tickets? No, I can't get you Bird's Nest tickets.
Bobby, this is a great time. Can you get me Bird's Nest tickets to this year, please? Can you make it happen? Because I have not been in quite some time. I'm getting married in March, Bobby. It'd be a great wedding present.
I'll see what I can do because none of the Koreans go. So maybe none of the Koreans.
You better grab a couple of those tickets.
So anyway, so Phoenix is $20 million. Here's the great news for me: Hilton Head, and my man is a force at Hilton Head.
RBC.
Now $20 million, and they deserve that because it's it's one of those golf courses that we, as I told Troy, we can't play 14 times a year.
Yeah, but it's iconic. Harbor Town is like that golf course. It should have been $20 million from the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those ones where all of a sudden a guy like Dustin Johnson looks like an idiot because he's trying to overpower a course like that, which you just can't do. So it's iconic. Quail Hollow, the Wells Fargo Championship, where they just had the President's Cup,
that's a beast,
is also going to be $20 million. My guy hasn't played there. I guarantee he's going to fucking play there this year for $20 million. And another one that's kind of out in the middle of the nowhere in it's what I call Hartford, but it's not really in Hartford.
Good old Connecticut, baby. Here we go. Travelers
Championship. Great golf course, man. Just great golf course. And they deserve it because they've done so much for the tour. And you go to this golf course and there's a little, it's just this little town and there's a farm field you come through where they're growing wheat and everything like that. And it's not the greatest hotel selection, but son of a bitch, when fucking the weekend rolls around, there are fucking people everywhere and they love
you get all the city crowd. The city crowd comes up. They end up coming, and it gets represented really, really well, which is surprising that it's been such a small tournament for so long, but now it's going to get the recognition that it deserves. And what's crazy about all of this, Bobby, is that all of these tournaments should have been this way already.
Yeah, well, we can get into that. We
morning quarterback.
Yeah. Well, the good news for my guy is we had heard through the grapevine he doesn't like Torrey Pines because it's 8,000 yards again and it's soaking wet and the ball goes nowhere. And he cashed out his chips when he made the cut there a couple of years ago at the U.S. Open. He's like, I'm never going back. But the rumor going around the tour was Torrey was going to be upgraded to 20. And he didn't get off to a good start this year. He's like, hey, hey man, if that Torrey purse goes to $20 million, I'm going to take my tied for 45th place and my $60,000, and we're going to play 6 weeks in a row. So he was pretty happy that I always love going to Torrey because I'm a self-proclaimed Pro-Am.
Yeah, Bobby, are you going to caddy for me at the Farmers Insurance Open this year?
What, in the Pro-Am?
Yeah.
I'll be home getting yelled at by Lori.
Come on, Bobby, we gotta get you back to San Diego, man.
I got bigger things to do. I love going there.
Bobby, what if I qualify for the Waste Management Open?
Well, listen, the only way you qualify for the Waste Management Open,
I'm Monday qualifying, goddammit.
The only way I see your name qualifying is if I turn that fucking sports page upside down and they go in that order. We'll find
that's gonna happen.
Speaking of turning
Mark
sports
your
page,
words right now. That's
okay,
happening.
all
You're
right.
gonna
It's the
flip
toughest.
that.
It's the toughest Monday on the PGA Tour. You know
Dude,
that
it's
the way fans
ridiculous.
win. Yeah,
They go
it's
out to
stupid.
McCormick Ranch, but
Yeah,
here's the thing. I've been playing McCormick a lot, trying to get
right,
that 61, and I keep
right.
sitting at 76.
Right.
So it's
Well, you
quite
do
it's
get to
quite a haul.
60. You do get to 61 at some point. That's for sure. And hey,
After
that's
14 holes. Maybe 13, maybe 11. I don't know. I'm not a
I,
mathematician here, people.
yeah, I gotcha. Let's talk a little. I'm going to reverse the order on how you want to do things because I want to end with something. I want to start with
Oh,
something, but
Bobby's
let's
got an
talk a
agenda
little
here,
bit.
folks.
Well, no, it's it's what you want to talk about and that kind of stuff. But let's go over Jeddah real quick. We'll go over the Live Golf Tournament.
Okay.
And I will say one thing. I was watching the leaderboard. I hope none of my Troy doesn't listen to this, but I was sitting at home and I was watching a little bit on my iPad. And then I had to come down here and look at the golf course. So I missed the last playoff hole. But I'm gonna make this comment. I think Brooks thinks he's Bo Jackson and he's hot shit. And I knew him before he was nobody. And I didn't like the person that he had changed into. But I get it. That happens with success. And when you knock off 4 majors and in basically 2 calendar years. But I've always said this. A healthy Brooks Koepka can go with Dustin Johnson every fucking day of the week.
100%.
Every fucking day of the week he can go with DJ.
100%. He's a gamer.
He's a fucking gamer, and he's something.
And he's more competitive than DJ.
And he is more competitive than DJ for sure. Yeah, for sure. So it was nice to see him win. I mean, I don't know what kind of stock you put in that. He beat Peter in a playoff. Peter's been playing good. Yeah, well, he's been playing good. Listen, can I just make the bottom line here? There's 40 some guys in that fucking field. I'm going to say it 100 times. There's 40 some guys in that field. There's not 144 uber talented guys. There's only, granted that leaderboard was stacked was stacked. Brooks, I'm going to put Uline up there because he's been trending and he was so highly regarded, but he couldn't find his footing out here. He was life and death to keep his card every year. Waco was got beat a shot. Neiman got beat a shot. Sergio showed up after 5 years. Apparently, whatever issues he had over there at Wentworth when he hurt himself and went to the UT game are all healed up. So Sergio played good. He was 1 shot off the lead. DJ backdoored like a 4th or 5th place finish with Matt Wolf. Paul Casey had a good week. Abe Answer actually made some noise. He shot 8 under. I think he probably finished like 11th or 12th. But speaking about turning the Pro Sports page upside down or the Live leaderboard upside down, you're going to see 2 WDs, and then you're going to see fat fuck at 6 over par, Pat Perez. And I'm calling it right now. If they roll into fucking Miami and he doesn't carry his fucking weight, he is good night Irene gone.
But Bobby already made his 10 mil.
DJ will not stand for that shit. DJ will not have a fucking slack. And honestly, the more that I think about it, how long is DJ and everybody else involved with Liv want to listen to his loud fucking mouth about everything and bitching and moaning? People that don't know Pat Perez love him, but we know a different Pat Perez, especially me. I know a different Pat Perez.
Well,
so
Bobby, you remember who my co-host was originally.
Well, we love
Mikey's fantastic.
And Mikey's mom and dad.
My God. And they're great people. They're great people. They are.
Awesome. They are awesome. But do you know what DFL stands for in golf? Dead fucking last. And that's where Fat Boy finished. 6 over par, dead fucking last. Take your 110 grand, Fat Boy. Go inject her tits again and get her another lip job and see if you can do something with those fucking alien ears because she needs a little work right there. That's all I got.
Bobby went hard there. That was almost a Bobby Brown drive-by.
Well, I learned this word from Lori a month ago. It's called hangry. Do you know what hangry is? I'm getting hangry. That's angry and hunger.
I go through it daily.
I'm getting hangry right now, and I'm on this big health food detox, immunity shot kick, salad.
Yeah, at least you're not having to get ready for a wedding in March.
Yeah, well, that's true.
I've been going through this for the past 6 months, Bobby. I lost about 20 pounds.
You better slim it down, Junior. Let's wind up. That's why you better slim it down.
Yeah, we got to slow this down. But hang on a second. I do have to make a comment because Peter Uline.
Is this going to take a long time?
No, it's not going to take a long time. It's Peter Uline. We've talked about this.
Okay.
I'm pumped to see that dude finally has found his niche.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't have to.
Dude. He's a great dude.
And at the end of the day, what you just said about there only being 40 players, might be
Yes.
why he's able to perform at that
Well,
level.
of course, because 144 guys is a big difference with all this talent on the PGA Tour than 40. I don't even know how many's in their field. 44, 48, or 40. Well,
I think it's 48,
40,
isn't it?
48. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Here, I'm gonna throw some live numbers at you. So, and this is like a quiz. Let's see if anybody out there knows what this means. $30,758,600.
How much
Total
Dustin Johnson
earnings,
made?
yes, on the live tour per tournament, averaging $5,126,433 per round. $1,708,000, $8,811. What is DJ making per hole? You might
Oh,
ask,
yeah,
what's
I
DJ
saw
making per
this.
hole?
Unbelievable.
$94,934. When the first thing I thought about when I saw those numbers was, if Austin Johnson is still getting 7%, and he might be getting 10. I heard today from somebody, a good source, that Dustin pays Austin, didn't pay him any of this contract fee, which caddies don't get part of contract fees or signing bonuses. So if Austin's getting a straight 10%, Austin Johnson is making $9,490 per hole that his brother plays. So basically, what does that mean? That means that Austin, once they play 3 holes, Austin's made an automatic $28,000, and that put me in a bad mood when I heard that.
I mean, that would put a lot of caddies in a bad mood. But Bobby, let me ask you a quick question here.
Yeah.
Since you brought that up, and because we haven't heard anything from the PGA Tour, nobody's talking about this. That $5,000 stipend.
Yeah.
Is it real?
Yeah, but it doesn't go to us. It doesn't go to the veterans. It goes to guys that finished outside of 125 last year.
No fucking way.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Let me just say this. My guys.
Did you not get paid?
Not so loud. He also got paid $10,000 at the U.S. Open, and I didn't get my $800 for that. But he also threw a big bonus at me last year that was unexpected.
All right, that's
fair.
And
let me just say
that's
this:
fair.
he pays me well. You know, they raised the PIP money and added this $5,000 because last year they had this. The players get $50,000 as soon as they play 15 events, trying to get players to play more. And I wasn't expecting to get anything of that. And he gave me something of that. He gave me 10% of that. He gave me $5,000 for that. And that was unexpected. It's always nice when you look at your bank account, which I do every hour.
Bobby, can you ask him this week?
Yeah.
If he's getting the stipend? Because people want to know.
No, I'm not going to ask him this week. I'll ask him on a week off.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's more of what I meant, like after this week. Like when you guys, granted, you're not going to ask him when you're coming down the back 9 on Sunday. You're like, hey, Troy, about that $5,000 that the PGA Tour put out there. No, absolutely not. I wouldn't expect you to.
Not for 400. No, not for.
No, but our audience wants to know. I've talked with several people that want to know if this thing's real.
I'm gonna tell you that I am 99.9% sure that it's guys that finished outside keeping their card 126 through whatever 200. If they're in the field and they miss the cut, they get 5,000. And it's for the Corn Ferry Tour guys too, because I think the tour thinks that the guys that kept their card, made a decent amount of money last year. You know what I mean? So they're not hurting for money for travel expenses. Whereas a KFT rookie can miss 3 or 4 cuts in a row, and all of a sudden he's in the shitter $20,000. And a little caveat to that is everybody I think in that Corn Ferry Tour in the category I mentioned before that, if they don't hit $500,000, remember there's $500,000 that they could take out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they could get paid. So if some guys have taken out the $500,000 already, like you can get it in a 1 lump sum payment, I think. Like if some guys have taken their $500,000 already,
I'd be taking it immediately, Bobby.
Yeah, well, the first $500,000 that they make, that all comes out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
It's a draw. Salespeople are going to know what this is. Yeah. Like it's a draw. You're going to get paid that, but as soon as you start performing, that's going to come out of your paycheck, and that's fine. Yeah. But the one thing that it didn't say, there were no stipulations around it. Like it was a blanket statement that if you miss a cut, you're going to get paid $5,000.
I'm 99.9% because I researched that. I researched that stuff.
Yeah, but the actual release from the PGA Tour didn't clarify that.
I know you got to give a lesson or two after this. So after you do your lesson, and when you get bored, when you're done editing all my F-bombs and all my shit talking about Perez out, which you never do, thank God, I love you.
No, absolutely
Or my,
not. This is
my
unfiltered.
Aussie slam on Matty Jones bullshitting, barefooted wonder.
Yeah, it's happening.
Just check that out because I'm pretty sure that I'm right on that. Did I mention I'm getting hangry? So when I get hangry, I want to rush things. That's what I do when I'm hangry.
I see that because we still got a couple minutes here, and it's getting to where you get angry about in general.
So let's let's tee up people right now. There was an article that broke
New Yorker
about Liv on the New Yorker. And
come on, Bobby, give it to us.
And smart ass you, I text you about it, and you're like, "Oh, I already read it. I didn't know you read the New Yorker."
I wasn't gonna add it to the show notes, Bobby. Yeah. I didn't know you read the New Yorker.
So let's talk about a few things that stood out to me about this New Yorker because I found it just so unbelievable what I was reading, some of the paragraphs, and some of the things that stood out to my mind was this Saeed bin Sarur Maktoum or whatever, who's running the whole fucking shillelagh. I'm gonna probably catch a bullet and a cockroach tonight for saying that, but I'm not being racist about it because I'm sure there's cool Saudis everywhere.
I was on mute, but my God, was I dying when you said that?
Yeah, but Saeed said, I'll go over 3 or 4 things because I don't want to go through the whole article. I want
don't go through the whole. Please, God, that article. By the way, if you are a subscriber to Apple News Plus, there was an audio format to it to where they actually brought in like a professional voiceover actor, and they read the entire article, and it was 50 minutes long.
Oh, because it took me forever to read it last night too. But a few things that stood out to me was this Saeed guy was talking about how they had this great idea for Live Golf and they had signed 10 big names, right? 10 big names were going. And then Phil popped off with the scary motherfuckers and killing gay people and all that kind of stuff. So I took out of the article that the Saeed calls whoever the big man that owns Aramco or whatever and says, "Hey, listen, I thought this was funny." Well, not funny, but I'm just like, he's like, "Hey, listen, this thing could go in the shitter right now. What do you want to do? Do you want to put a hold on it after what Phil said?" And he said, and the guy's like, "Well, what do you think?" I don't even know who the big man is. He goes, "Well, what do you think?" He goes, "You know what I think? I think," and he was obviously talking about Dustin. He goes, we got him and we got 6 or 7 other guys, and then we're going to get every mediocre. This is him saying it, and that's this year, right? He goes, "We're going to get every mediocre fucking player, Hud Swafford, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, all these other guys, that aren't in the mix. We'll get every mediocre player together, and we'll get this thing going." So that's what they did, right? Let's be honest.
Hang on.
What?
Hang on.
Are you muting me?
No.
Okay.
Here is the dynamic that I took from that.
What?
I don't think that it happened exactly like that.
Okay. How do you think?
And the reason being is because when Jay Monahan decided to draw a line in the sand because of Phil Mickelson, they go, "Holy shit, let's not bury this.
Right.
We're going to get so much media attention that this is going to be worth billions."
You sound like Trumpy right now.
I know. I brought out the billions specifically for that. Yeah. Billions.
Yes.
Billions. But that's why I had such an issue with what Jay Monahan did, because they hadn't even taken off yet. They hadn't even announced it. It wasn't real yet. And yet he goes and does that. And then all of a sudden, and think of the timing. They said that they had that conversation after Phil's comments came out, right?
Right, yeah.
What did Jay do immediately as soon as those comments came out? He drew the line in the sand, and then the Genesis Open was the next week, and then all of a sudden went ham on everybody. They knew. They go, "Hang on, let's wait and see what happens."
And this is when the Genesis Tiger, referring to Tiger's tournament, that's when Dustin and DeChambeau went on record and lied, and Perez went on record that they had, that they had no interest in going. But I'm going to read something. I'm going to read something back to you that's in front of me right now. This is Saror, this Saeed Saror that runs the tour. I'm going to quote this. Are you ready for this? "I called the boss. I said, this is after Phil's comment. I said, everyone's walking away. Do you want to do it or not?" Saror told Ramayan or whatever his name is. He had a plan. He said, here's his quote: "Get the biggest mediocres, get the 10 that we have, get you and I, and let's go play for $25 million a week and see what happens."
I call bullshit. I call bullshit on that, because if you're a smart businessman, you sit there and wait until you know what the market is going to do. You don't just throw money at this thing and go, oh, this is going to take off, because they were hesitant. And that's what I took from that article. You have to take it with a grain of salt. You have to read between the lines on this type of stuff, because they're never going to tell you the full story, because they want it to sound entertainment. They want it to sound luxurious, that they're the ones that made that decision. But no, they were not the ones that made that decision, Bobby. I'm telling you right now, they sat back and go, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And sure enough, then all of a sudden, the PGA Tour put their foot in the ground, and the media jumped on, and they go, we got something. Let's go.
Yeah. You sound like Trumpy. Okay, what do you think about this topic? What do you think about him, Saror Albid Muhammad, saying that they weren't even they never offered Tiger $800 million, nowhere close to that. Right. Okay, because that's a quote. That's a
direct quote from that article. And then the other bullshit.
And then the other thing he said was, he came out on record yesterday in this article saying, listen, I can't believe that, you're not going to allow our players, the big time players, to play in your majors. And you heard what he said about that. He goes, if the majors decide not to have our players play, I will celebrate. I will create my own majors for my players. Honestly, I think all the tours are being run by guys who don't understand business. Well, it's easy to say that when you can shell $2 billion into something and not have one penny of it come back.
Bobby, I shared this with our social media team, and I go, it's a bold strategy, Cotton. I hope it works out for him, because that right there is just ego. That's, I can create history. I can create legacy because I have all the money in the world. No, you don't. And actually, you have $600 billion, which, granted, seems like a fuck ton, and it is. Don't get me wrong. But also, the PGA Tour brings in over $1 billion a year. And that's part of what has actually transpired that I'm excited about, because all of a sudden the PGA Tour, and I know, listen, the live guys are going to demonize this and say that the PGA Tour, oh, you just came up with fucking $500 million more out of nowhere? That's because of us. No, it's because of competition is what it is. It's because of competition, and because of competition, all of a sudden it's like the cash reserves. You're not saving it for a rainy day. You got to get aggressive. And yes, anytime you have that, and yes, there's going to be a group that gets involved with that. And that's where me as a businessman, I'm sitting there going, fuck no to the fact that they sat there and go, oh, what should we do? Yeah, let's just throw everything into it and go after it. No, that didn't happen. They sat back. And if they were savvy businessmen that they claim that they are, right? So you have to take this with a grain of salt. What I'm saying is, if they're as savvy of businessmen as they say they are, they would have, they lied in that article, because they're sitting back going, let's see what the PGA Tour does. Let's see what they do with Phil Mickelson. Let's see what they do with his comments. If they all of a sudden bring us into mainstream media and we become a part of like contentious media, everybody knows in media, it sells. Like controversy, the polarizing effect, it sells. We talk about this in media. 100%. And that's where they're like, it's going to sell. So that's where I feel like they just sat back and watched what the PGA Tour did, and they opened up the door to this entire thing. But now all of a sudden, flipping gears, they also in that article hired a former press secretary for George W. Bush. And also with that, they've made several mistakes. If you're looking at it from a PR perspective, they were winning the PR battle until the lawsuit from those players trying to get back onto the PGA Tour. What the fuck are you guys doing? That is stupidity. That is dumb. You don't fucking do that. You're winning the goddamn PR battle, and yet you're trying to bring in fans from the PGA Tour. Now you've just separated yourself from being the good guys to all of a sudden, and granted, I know, Bobby, you're giving me the look like, Matt.
No, I'm not. I'm listening. I'm listening to you.
It is where people that weren't necessarily 100% bought in to the PGA Tour product, that thought maybe there's something better. Maybe maybe speculation, right?
Right.
They're thinking, oh, you know what? This live golf thing's kind of interesting. They got the team aspect. A lot of these guys that are audience members are looking at it going, I played on a college golf team. This is pretty cool, and all of a sudden you add in that lawsuit.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry. They drew the line. And that's where I started getting jaded on it. And then you started hearing, by the way, I need to do a quick correction. I said on the last episode that it was Lee Westwood that talked about the official world golf rankings and remove official from it. No, that was Graham McDowell.
Right? Yeah. Well, yeah.
I mixed those two up, and
what
I
have you done for me lately, Graham McDowell? Speaking of players on the Live Tour, let's go ahead and give an official last goodbye to Mito Pereira. This is the final for Mito Pereira on this tour. He signed with Liv. You know what? I got a theory. What do you think about this theory as we wrap it up? Here's my theory on the recruitment. I think they do this recruiting in. I'm not going to put Mito in there, but I think they do it in pairs, right? Like 100%, in pairs, like Cam Smith and Leishman, right? And then you can go. Carlos Ortiz and Waco, or Neiman, or Carlos Ortiz and Abe Answer. And the reason why I'm getting this, and I have no basis I got a little basis through this, but you remember how the name Mito was always coming up, but also Cantlay and Xander was coming up the whole time. So I started thinking about this the other night. I'm like, okay, so they keep popping off the Live guys that they're getting Cantlay and Xander.
I can't wait for this.
Maybe. Here's what I think. Maybe one of those guys, Cantlay and Xander, entertained the idea of going, but they had to have their buddy. Let's say Cantlay wants, like, yeah, I'll go for $150 or $200 million. I'll go. I've done my damage here. I know how good I am. But Xander's like, and I'm just doing a hypothetical, and Xander's like, man, I'm not going to go. I got to win majors and that kind of stuff. So my idea is they recruit in pairs, and that's why those two names coming up, because maybe one of them showed interest. But the deal was the other one had to come to get the big money, and the other one was like, does that make any sense?
East Coast, West Coast, and then international. So they're going off of the model of an actual, and I give them credit for this, of a football league / also within the American side, East Coast, West Coast, as to how football, baseball, and everything is set up with the divisions.
Yeah.
They're setting up teams throughout the world. Look at their teams. When you look at their teams, they're wanting to sell these teams off. That is part of that New Yorker article, that they're looking to sell the teams off for a lot of money. Yeah. And that's how they're going to recruit or recoup a lot of their investment around it. So if you look at Xander and Cantlay, where are they from? The West Coast.
Yeah.
How many West Coast guys do they have on their team?
Yep, they're both SoCal guys.
Not many, right? Because they've got a bunch of East Coast guys. They've got DJ, they've got Perez.
But he's south. He's south. DJ's
correct,
south, right? Columbia, South Carolina.
But then you look at like Koepka and Uline and those guys, and I mean Koepka, Florida, but Uline, more on the East Coast, but everybody so far from the American side is East Coast. They were striving for a couple West Coast guys to grab. Even Harold Varner III. Where is he from? He's from the East Coast. Yeah.
No, he's North Carolina. He's south.
That's North Carolina. No, but East Coast. East Coast.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah. Okay, I'm not saying North versus South. I'm just saying East Coast versus West Coast. And that's why they were going after Schauffele and they're going after Cantlay. They were going after Homa. Like, they're going after all the Cali boys because they want American squads that are East Coast, West Coast, and then they've got their international squads because you can't go regionally within America.
You're a smart dude. She's when you get married, she's getting a catch. You're a smart guy. Hey, can I go eat dinner now?
Yeah, fuck yeah, Bobby. Get the fuck out of here.
Hey, listen. I wanted to say that let's go ahead and congratulate Bobby Brown and Troy Merritt on another made cut this week. Don't know where we're going to finish, but we're going to make this cut, and we're going to.
Let's go, Bobby. Yeah, Bobby, I got higher expectations than you do.
Which there's Jack.
Well, all you have to do is show up to make the cut this week.
I know. I need to make some. I need to get one of them 6-figure checks.
But so I'm gonna throw this out there. This is my prediction for Troy Merritt and Bobby Brown this week.
Give me some good news.
You guys are going to finish top 25.
Okay, I like it because I was thinking, man, wouldn't it be great if we could finish like 16th or 18th or something like that?
You're in that range. I'm
we're
not
on the
gonna
same
I'm not
page.
gonna give you a top 20 though. I'm gonna give
Yeah,
you a top 25 because I do think with Troy with his mindset right now, and all of a sudden there's all this pressure leading up to this because let's face it, he hasn't performed in recent weeks, which
right.
I'm gonna get canned for this. But that being said, when all of a sudden you stop focusing on the pressure and you're like, God damn it, I'm not supposed to perform on this goddamn golf course. That's when
Right.
things happen.
I like it. I like what you're saying, dude. I like what you're saying.
Bobby,
So
have a
we'll get,
great week this
yeah,
week, all
we'll get a
right?
little recap. We'll get a little recap of this tournament next week. We're going to do it early in the week. I don't want to jinx myself.
Yeah,
Maybe
Bobby, you
we'll
said
do it on
last
Monday
week,
night.
never going to
Stop
happen
it.
again. Never going to happen again.
I needed sleep. I've been hunting cockroaches. It's a dirty job. Somebody's got to do it.
Bobby is
And
out there hunting
yeah,
these grounds just for the one
yeah,
opportunity that Troy's going to go, hey, Bobby, what
right.
is this putt?
Hey, oh God, let's hope not. It's Bermuda. And then we'll give a little prep because that Doral team event's coming
Everything
up on
straight,
Live.
Bobby.
I'm
Everything
going to
straight on Bermuda. Just
yeah,
fucking pump it. Pump it
yeah.
hard and
I'm giving
firm.
good numbers.
It's in.
I'm gonna give good numbers and good wind. It's supposed to be light and variable early, but I can't tell you right now, but I got my Titleist gloves, my beanie, all my shit because it's gonna be 36 degrees when we tee off at 9 a.m.
Just know, Bobby,
B's
just know that I am
yeah.
training for the Waste Management Open since it's gone
Okay.
up to 20 mil.
Okay.
And my God, if I make that goddamn Monday
Yeah.
qualifier, you are dropping Troy's bag. You're coming onto mine. We're going to do something special. So just we're ending it there.
At this
All right,
stage of the
goodbye.
game, do you know how,
Goodbye. I don't want an
because
answer. Goodbye. Thank you for tuning in to Season 2 of the Pull Hook Golf Podcast. Make sure to hit subscribe and go to www.pullhookgolf.com for more information.